2020 was supposed to be a really big year for theme parks in general. There were lots of projects going on left and right in Universal Studios and Disney, in North America, in Asia. Things were being built and things were going to open. And then, everything kind of stopped and the world stopped. And in March, COVID closed everything for a historic amount of time. Disneyland is still closed and it's 2021. The largest unfortunate side effect of the entire situation was that up to 30,000 cast members lost their jobs from Disney parks. Universal, the same. Lots of big media themed entertainment industries had to lay off lots and lots of people, which absolutely breaks my heart as someone who loves themed entertainment. By the end of 2020, my opinions started to get kind of skewed about what I thought about Disney in general. And I started to ask a lot of questions like, is it okay to be a Disney fan right now? And that's why I wanted to make this video, to kind of explore it, to ask you guys some questions and to hear what you guys think, what my peers think about being a Disney fan when things are so strange right now. About halfway through 2020, the Orlando area in Florida reopened their theme parks, starting with Universal Studios. And after they had a kind of a successful run, Disney decided to do it as well. And in August, I actually went down. Not immediately after, I kind of got a feel for what the social distancing measures were, what kind of procedures were being taken. I got a feel from some of the other content creators out there and seeing how comfortable they felt in the parks. And from that, I made a bit of an educated decision to go down with really only one thing in mind, and that is that I could only take care of myself. I could only watch after myself. I could only wash my hands, not touch my face, use hand sanitizer, wear a mask, respect my fellow park goers, stay 6 feet away from everybody. And quite honestly, it was very easy to do. I felt like there was barely anyone there. It felt like really the busiest park was maybe some Galaxy's Edge kind of stuff, but places like Animal Kingdom barely had a guest in them. And ultimately, the question of whether or not it felt safe to be there or not entered my head maybe 2 or 3 times in the entire time I was down there. Really, truly, it was super easy to use hand sanitizer. Everywhere you looked, there was a thing of hand sanitizer for you to use and feel like your hands were always clean. In the middle of a queue, before a ride, after a ride, in gift shops and restaurants, and just everywhere, there was places for you to, try to keep clean. The guests at the park, for the most part, did a good job at social distancing and keeping away from one another and not crowding too intensely. Some queues got a little bit intense and difficult, but Disney did a pretty decent job of redesigning and relaying out certain queues with high plexiglass walls and spacing to make the queue space a safer kind of environment to be in. Ultimately, I didn't get sick. Kenny, the producer who came down with me to make some videos with me, he didn't get sick either, but we really did a good job at taking care of ourselves and making sure that we followed all the protocols. What it really turns out to be at the end of the day is that if you just are well behaved and maintain all the rules, mask wearing and keeping clean, it's not difficult to respect your fellow man, right? It's not hard to do that. Now, it became a little bit of a different story later in the year, come September, October, when Kenny went back briefly after the positive experience he had with me in August, only to find out the park capacity started to increase. And they're trying to kind of return the state of the parks back to as full functioning capacity state as they possibly can. It seems like people in larger crowds just don't know how to behave. And with the increased capacity, even if it's at half or 60%, it's still enough people to allow us to begin to act stupid in crowds. I'm not sure if a lot of you are aware, but I don't actually live in Florida. And so I found myself asking the question, would I be going to the parks regularly if I lived down in Florida? And I can't really find a good reason to, because the parks experience right now is completely different. Just safety aside, so many of the small, intimate experiences that the parks were filled with, the live entertainment, the performers, the dining experiences, just the general ambiance is completely removed and stripped down when everything is walled with plexiglass and covered with stickers and there's social distancing measures everywhere and you have people making sure and enforcing, it just kind of loses a lot of the magic. Now, looking specifically at safety, I think that risks are definitely increasing the more people are at these parks. And you have to ask yourself, they have to be doing studies, right? They have to be testing these things to make sure that they're working. I mean, it's Disney. They're constantly concerned about liability in these days. But regardless of how safe they believe it to be, it's interesting to see the public, fans, peers, all the theme park community alike debate whether or not it's really safe to go or if we really should be going to theme parks in general. I chose Rob to talk to about this topic specifically because he just knows a lot about Disney logistics. He lives down in Florida, he's a content creator like me, and I really liked the perspective he was able to offer me on kind of what this past year has done to theme parks in general.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
What has 2020 done to you in terms of like Disney World and Disney parks and theme parks and being the Disney person that theme park person that you are? Tell me.
It forced me to take a break from Disney, like in many levels. Obviously, there was the very physical, literal level when the parks shut down for a number of months and you just couldn't go if you wanted to. And then there was the level after where, you know, they opened up again, but I'm taking this thing seriously enough that I have zero interest in going to the parks during a pandemic. And that kind of made me just separate myself from the fandom as a whole almost. I don't know if it was like a defense mechanism where it's like, oh, well, I can't go to the parks, or the version of the parks that I'm really missing right now doesn't exist. So, you know, maybe my way of coping with it is to just naturally lose interest in it. But that's what ended up happening for me is like, I don't know, I went a good half of this year without even thinking about Disney outside of like the podcast I do and the videos I was making, which, you know, half of them weren't Disney related for that very reason.
Right.
I just wasn't even thinking about it.
What I like about the parks is strolling around, you know, sipping a mint julep, riding the train, hearing the things, poking some walls, you know, like the parks that's just not it anymore.
Right. I've seen so many people say that where, you know, obviously when, you know, just a year ago, nobody likes crowds. Everybody would love the thought of like an empty theme park. But when it reopened, I saw so many people who expressed the sentiment that it just felt off with too few crowds. Obviously, you want like that Goldilocks zone on, you know, when there isn't a pandemic. But like to go there and see a ghost town, like just kind of, it kills the magic as much as the lights being on when you're on a ride or something. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a different experience. And it was eye-opening to me to see the fandom kind of split between these two camps, between people for whom Disney is just like this fun part of their life that, you know, obviously as more important things are taking over becomes smaller, and then people who really depended on going to the parks as like some sort of emotional like support, and they struggled to cope with the fact that the parks were closed. Like, and I'm not trying to paint everybody who wants to go back under that umbrella. There's some people who probably miss Disneyland and they're just missing it because they liked it. But I think in those early months there were people who seriously depended on it, and that was kind of eye-opening to me to see that.
And like my emotions are split. And as you as a local with like all these cast members being laid off, you know, up to like 30,000, they're saying, I'm a little bit split on how the parks have made me kind of feel, because at the end of the day, the parks are a business, right? And they have a profit line and a profit margin, and they have to have affordability for all of these things. But the parks are still employing a lot of people still.
Yeah.
The idea of people still going is this catch-22 in my head about the kind of terrible life a lot of cast members could be leading.
Living down here just for a year before this all happened started to pop that bubble of being very aware that there's a world outside of the parks, right? Like when I lived in New York and I visited, I was spoiled because I flew down, I got on Magical Express, I was in the Disney World bubble for a week, and then I got on a bus and I left. And now that I'm down here, I see cast members at grocery store. I see them driving around getting gas. Like makes me aware that yes, there's obviously a world outside of Disney World, which I knew about before, but I just, when it's out of your mind, you're not thinking about it, out of sight, out of mind. This whole year has shattered the illusion to me that Disney is this like wholesome, friendly company that wants to bring you magic. Like at the end of the day, they're just another multinational corporation like any other multinational corporation. They're going to care about their stock prices. They're going to care about, their bottom line. That doesn't mean they're evil or twirling a mustache, but
they're a business.
Yeah, and that's the product they're selling.
But their business is making you not think of them as a business.
Yeah, exactly. Their image is the product they're selling in a way.
Disney business. Well, thanks, Rob, for chatting with me. I appreciate it, man.
No problem.
2020 was a pretty interesting year for being a Disney fan. And at the back end of it, I'm now happily holding on to all these Disney park memories that I've made in the past. I'm happily looking forward to making new Disney memories in the future. But right now, just as Rob said, the theme park world that I love doesn't exist right now. And for those of you out there who it does exist for, and you need that theme park kind of energy in your life, that's awesome, and there's no judgment to you, as long as you are doing the right thing. If you're taking the right precautions, you're social distancing, you're wearing masks, you're respecting your fellow man, I can't really blame you, because there isn't any safety net for the people that you're still keeping employed, and they're having their jobs, but they're trying to do their best to keep safe. It's really complicated, and I don't know if there's a right answer right now. I don't think there'll be a right answer for a really long time, and I think we can just do our best to just respect each other, be kind, and treat each other as well as possible, and stay as safe as possible until we get more information and we learn more things about what's going on. I'd like to know what you guys think about being a Disney fan, being a Disney theme park fan in 2020, now 2021. What has this past year done to you and your love of the parks? Are you sad to see things get canceled and get delayed? Are you did you get to go to the parks this year, and what kind of experiences you have? Let me know in the comments below, as well as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon. I want to hear from you guys and all of the stories you have to tell me about what 2020 has done to you as a Disney fan. But if there are other things that you guys want to hear about, big questions you want me to ask to specific content creators, let me know. This is something I can continue to do. Have a little bit of an informative discussion with a content creator about a very specific topic or question. Up to you guys. You have to let me know if you enjoy this. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, you rock.